really interesting. So just as I get a little bit of interest to play and then quit Pokemon Unite, there's a letter from the producer, and it addresses the removal of EX licenses. Let's see what's going on. If you enjoy the video, don't forget to leave a like, share with friends, comment your thoughts, and use code Verlisify for 20% off your G Fuel order. I've had tons of energy drinks. This is the best one for gaming and work, whatever you need caffeine for. Also, quick new affiliate announcement, licorice.com. If you're not feeling G Fuel or energy drinks right now, get yourself some candy, because this stuff is good. How good is it? Well, I never do face cam, but I love this stuff so much, I want to show my enjoyment of it. They got all my favorite flavors, and it's like softer and more delicious than if you go to the candy store. So grab some. So yeah, if you're in a soft candy mood right now and you want to treat yourself, use my affiliate link for 15% off. But let's talk about Pokemon Unite, starting off with Ho-Oh, which is weird because there's EX license changes. I guess development team didn't see this one coming. Devs are still in a great position for this game though, but 3rd anniversary is coming up, so that's a thing. As a defender, Ho-Oh is good at withstanding attacks from opponents. His Unite move revives all allies that have been knocked out. What gets me most about the Pokemon Unite devs is that they have not learned anything from all the games that have came before. It's almost like they're deliberately ruining their game in the same exact way that every other game before it has ruined itself. We learned this with Overwatch over half a decade ago, even as an ultimate ability. Mercy's Revive was not acceptable. And then we had Action in League of Legends, but also even then Revive mechanics. Aatrox, not allowed to have the Revive mechanic anymore. And all these other like changes. And Actions is actually like worse because this is unacceptable. A rainbow colored feather will fall at the location of a knocked out ally. If Ho-Oh uses Rekindling Flame near it, revives that Pokemon on the spot. So it's not even like, oh, you respawn in base and then you can like jump back and try to secure Rayquaza or do something. Even if all of its allies are knocked out, it can just turn the tide at Rayquaza. Like, that is it. They're just saying, like, here's your auto-win Unite move button. And there's so many ways to bait that out, where you're like, oh, you just have... It's like when Mercy is just hiding, and then everyone gets wiped, and then you see, like, the res 5 people play the game. That's not a toxic playstyle that's needed to be removed in every game that has the mechanic. So Ho-Oh can do that. Who cares if it's a 4v5? If you bait out 2 Unite moves and don't burn any, and everyone's just like... It's also going to be so grief. Because you know, someone's going to be out of position with their Ho-Oh, and then they lose the game because now you don't even have Unite. So it's like 4v5 on the Unites or just whatever. Also, depending on just how good Ho-Oh's kit is. I don't care. I'm not following all the leaks and data mines anymore, especially for EX Pokemon. But like... And then if someone else thinks like, oh wait, we can turn it without Unite or without Ho-Oh's Unite, and then they blow their Unite move, and then everything just goes wrong. Like, okay, this actually gets like super duper grief and is very easy to screw up, but in coordinated play, like, yeah, this is definitely acceptable. And then just going back to what I've been saying for the last 3 years of Pokemon Unite, where it's like, no one likes Yumi. Yumi didn't work. You can't make Comfey. You can't make all of these kits that have virtually already existed in League of Legends and had to be nerfed or reworked because they were not healthy for League of Legends. And even then, not splitting the rankings, where it's like, oh, as a solo queue player, I'm on the same ladder as 5 stacks, getting free wins. Just by the virtue of being a 5 stack and having a massive competitive advantage, even against other 5 stacks, where it's like, okay, cool, like there's nothing of value in this game. And then the many other problems I've complained about for the last couple of years, that's the reason why everyone has quit and no one's playing Pokemon Unite, and it's a super dead game. So it's like, cool, this game deserved better from both the community and the devs, and now they're just making the same mistakes we're tired of that we've seen in gaming countless times. This powerful Unite move is activated by consuming all of your Aeos energy. The more you consume, the more your allies you can revive, so save it for the end. It doesn't matter, because then you get Rayquaza and you wipe out the enemies and you just get it all back. There's no cost here. And even like mid-game stuff where, like, depending on the game state and then comeback experience or whatever, sure, dude. And then we have EX license changes. When EX licenses were introduced in December of 2023, that doesn't sound correct, because like Mewtwo was a year ago? And then, like, also that's kind of crazy because then, now that EX licenses are legendary Pokemon thing, they've just been overloading it with all of these crazy powerful Pokemon. I guess I think they made like the classification where it's like, oh, since we can't balance these legendaries, we're going to make them special. And then that special thing has interactions for draft and ranked and whatever. The intention was to express the strength of legendary Pokemon in a way that is easy for anyone to experience. The categorization was introduced to not only help balance battles, but add dimensionality to them by introducing weaknesses in exchange for strength. And everyone knew that didn't happen. Like, oh, Zacian was allowed to be that busted because you're missing an item. Whoa. Even though everything about the game is like more base stats and levels, and overloading it through that than items and potentially a decent passive. And then the EX license balances battles where you can only have one EX license on a team. And then there's also like draft shenanigans. Like, none of this is correct. How incompetent do you have to be to think that you're allowed to make something that's like a special class that is objectively more powerful than just the average champion or character in the game? That there is absolutely no way of balancing that, especially when you're trying to think about a setting where most of the player base is just going to be solo, duo, or trio queue. So if someone else snipes the EX Pokemon from you and performs worse on it, you just lose harder if they get the better player on the better EX Pokemon, or like they perform better on the EX. So now your experience is just like, also what about the other 4 people in the game that just have to play with an objectively weaker Pokemon for no reason, unless they're support, and then they get to only make, and then that's another thing. It's like, okay, so then you play support, so you feel strong, making the stronger Pokemon even better. But now, as a support, your entire goal and intention is to ignore the other 3 players and make their experience worse. There is no world with 3 seconds of thought where this is actually an idea. After carefully reviewing the feedback we received from players via surveys, we found that the system was well received by new players and those unfamiliar with Pokemon. Exactly, the player base that you should be catering to with a MOBA. What a winning developing strategy. Wow, the noob, like that's another thing. It's like, this is actually just made to be like the auto-win noob character where you've never played Pokemon or a MOBA, or you have no experience with Pokemon Unite, and you're just allowed to win by mashing on an objectively stronger character. And because of that, the feedback is good, and this is a successful thing? No! And this is another thing we've seen with developers ruining great games. I loved Overwatch for the first couple of seasons, and then the developers just refused to balance it properly. Same thing with League of Legends, where Riot can never admit any mistakes. Like, bro, it's a mistake. Just own it. Don't even try to pretend that there was a silver lining or anything positive about EX licenses and legendary Pokemon existing. However, and then like they bury it under like the initial thing, where it's like, well, the feedback says that this was great for certain players. However, we also found players wanted a more balanced experience for the power level of EX licenses to be on par with Unite licenses. Some ranked seasons have restricted EX licenses, reducing the number of Pokemon that could be selected. We felt this took away from the fun of battle. That's also just BS, because there's already too many Pokemon already, it feels. And then, like, there's only 4 now, well, actually, no, 3-ish, 4-ish with Ho-Oh coming in EX licenses. So, I'm very confused on how that takes away. It's not like you're losing, like, you get more diversity by restricting EX licenses, and you get more fun in the games. Based on our findings, we've determined EX licenses haven't been adding a new dimensionality of fun to Unite. Wow. Wow. They actually thought EX licenses would add a new dimensionality of fun. Wow. EX license classification will be removed in the September update. That's still a way, I guess you gotta keep it for Worlds, but that's still a ways off, damn. Together with this change, the following Pokemon will receive balance adjustments to bring them more in line with the rest of the Pokemon Unite roster. Zacian, Mewtwo, Miraidon. And does that mean, like, Ho-Oh is... What's happening with Ho-Oh, then? Because that means this thing was designed to be EX power, but now that's being removed, so are they launching... Like, whatever the state Ho-Oh launches in, because it's not in the list of balance, that means the devs believe that this is the non-legendary, non-EX acceptable power level of a Pokemon with whatever happens with Ho-Oh. If this thing is absolutely disgustingly unacceptably broken, it means the devs just have no idea how to balance and they can't do anything right. So, cool. Real cool. Also, when the base kits are so overloaded and the entire design of the character was to be better than everything else in the game, how do you even bring that in line and make it playable or balanced? Just remove it from ranked. Here's my idea. My take on EX Pokemon is like you can actually have the dimensionality of fun if you just keep it out of ranked. Keep it out of competitive battles entirely, and then you make them deliberately busted. That way, everyone has the chance to feel like the hero in their normals game, especially if like more EX licenses come out, and then it's like 3 EX versus 3 EX, and then 2 supporters, and that actually sounds like everyone has a chance to have a significant amount of fun inside the game, because, yo, the supports are like, I can't do anything else, but if my Blissey just kind of ults one of these dudes, cool, that means there's something for everyone, and if you don't want to deal with it, just play ranked. And if you don't like ranked, well then stay in Great Ball tier forever and then play with other trash players, and then at least there's no EX Pokemon. And that also means like for the PvE and event modes, you can also still find a lot of power. So I say buff all of these characters, keep them out of ranked, and then EX is a success. It's not hard! It's not that hard! Why am I not getting the $200,000 a year salary for making the easiest decisions ever? Balance. We want to ensure that a diverse range of Pokemon are represented in a well-balanced battle environment. Interestingly enough, I actually agree, because when I did my tier list, I'm like, wow, if like Mimikyu wasn't OP, Phalanx and Ceruledge just get like nerfed into B tier, the game is actually incredibly balanced feeling. And also remove like you just pretend EX Pokemon don't exist. So like this is probably going to just ruin the game when they remove that, and then these guys are still like all S tier, like balanced, not even balanced S tier, but like too strong S tier, but at least not EX objectively overpowered. So the game's gonna suck until like December, but maybe it'll actually be like in the best state it's ever been. The sad thing for me is like launch Pokemon Unite and the Japanese beta, that was like the best Pokemon Unite's ever been, and the devs have only made it worse, which is so upsetting. But yeah, we want to ensure a diverse range of Pokemon are represented. Roster of over 60 Pokemon. Some have not received many adjustments, while others are seen as staples in battles. Congratulations. It took you 3 years and decades of gaming to learn this. How? We want to make sure everyone can play their favorite Pokemon. Balance adjustments once a month. Small adjustments in between. Hey, they're fine. Like, yeah, why haven't patches been faster? Because, like, if something is broken or like some bugs are usually fixed like quicker, but if something is way too broken, you're just like, oh, that's just the meta for the next month, and I just have to deal with it because they launched the new Pokemon way too powerful, or they overbuffed something, or they made a really stupid mechanic, and now the game just sucks for a month and there's nothing you can do about it. I hope it actually isn't small adjustments in between to keep the game fresh. Like, yeah, every 2 weeks, that's how League of Legends has survived. Also, new Pokemon is weird because, like, yeah, when you look at all the EX licenses that have come out that are now being, like, retconned, it's like, oh, we could have just had, like, a better game and a better roster of Pokemon if it wasn't for this obviously stupid decision that anyone could have realized was stupid before it was even made to introduce legendary Pokemon in this way. Also, like, new Pokemon, they're just too stupid when they're, like, strong when they launch. And now there's too many. Like, with the player base as dead as it is, and as much of a decline as it is, you can't be introducing new Pokemon, because then it's more overwhelming for people to get in, and that's the problem League of Legends has. League of Legends isn't growing the player base at all. It's just boomers like me with the gaming equivalent of a heroin addiction. That's it. So, like, Pokemon Unite, you don't need more Pokemon at this point. You haven't needed to make any new Pokemon for a long time. And I think that can be seen in the kits, where, like, they're running out of ideas, which is weird, because when Blastoise came out, it's like, oh, now we have 3 Surf Pokemon that do things slightly different. But that's cool. Like, that should be it. There should be more kit overlap. They shouldn't just try to make all of these way overtuned, wacky new Pokemon designs, because then you have the same power creep problems that we saw with League of Legends. And they didn't even learn from that. Like, I think there should be a lot more Shadow Fighter feeling characters. I'm not even talking about, like, oh, Scizor can evolve, or Charizard has a melee and a ranged kind of thing. It's like, no, just, like, just steal other moves. Like, I want to play a Pokemon that has... Actually, no, wait, there's 4 Surf, because you have Cramorant, Greninja, Slowbro, and then Blastoise. I forgot about Cramorant, which is weird, because he's my main. Okay, I can't think of any on the spot right now, but I think it'd be, like, really cool if a new Pokemon was introduced, and it wasn't just, like, all of these new mechanics and all this new crazy stuff going on. You're just like, oh, this Pokemon's move, and then this Pokemon's move, and then a completely fresh Unite, and that would be really cool. And if you do that for a couple of new Pokemon, it makes it easier for people to deal with all the new Pokemon coming into the game. So like, oh, I can get a good idea of how this plays. I don't know, you give Froslass Icicle Crash, and then you can have it detonate the Icicle Crash like Mamoswine, but with a Shadow Ball. And then since that applies a status effect, maybe you can also have some kind of other cooldown reducing synergy or something similar to Gengar. Like again, you just kind of rip kits off. That could be weird, but also could be cool. Because one thing that's missing in League of Legends are champions that are kind of gated to each other. Because like Zaya Rakan getting bonuses, that's cool. We didn't get any duo characters like that. I don't think that's unhealthy design if you do it every once in a while. Same thing where another knock-up on the team enables Yasuo even more. So if you have like a Mamoswine on your team, they could not have Icicle Crash if your Froslass has it. So then it can knock over Frostlass's Icicle Crash and then Ice Shard one of the stun targets back into the team. Or Ice Fang, or whatever it is. I don't remember. That move's garbage. But if you already have an Icicle Crash, maybe it isn't. And then Froslass could do its own things. Or you make Pokemon that are mirrors of existing Pokemon, but with different status effects. That you have Froslass just be the Freezy Ice Gengar, where it can Frost Breath multiple people, and then Shadow Ball can reset off of like hitting targets that are affected by the Frost status, instead of having Gengar do like the Infinity Hex thing, or putting Pokemon to sleep or something. And then it's like, yo, I like Froslass. I like this ranged Gengar playstyle on resets a bit more. But now the game feels like it just plays... It doesn't have any creep added into the game. So, like, boom, you could do fun stuff like that. So, we'll be adding new playable Pokemon. We introduced fewer in 2014. We plan to pick up the pace. Great. Even better. So, they spend all their time on Legendaries. They're retconning it. A lot of the new Pokemon are stupid and overtuned. And then they need to be nerfed, and then they're kind of useless, or maybe they're not. I don't know. And then people don't want to get into the game because there's too much to keep up with. And then they're going back on pace. Whatever, dude. 3rd anniversary. I don't even know. This game deserved better.